This is Dr. Lemmon, and I'm doing a little introductory chat to my January. Yes, we made it to another January. It's always fun to see cycles actually complete. There's always an element of change. We don't necessarily notice change when it's small. After a little bit of time, we look back and we say, wow. So every January, I kind of get this thing where I look back and I say, wow, I've been around here for, a long time. And so now all these people have got stories and they've got all this confusion going on. And it's like, wow, I've lived through all this. It's really kind of intriguing. I'm not sure that I want to live through another cycle of it, but it is very interesting. So here we are. It's like I've been talking all year and last year and saying, let's start working on ranges. So where did I come up with that as a real quick summation? And then we'll kind of jump into it. We're going to go somewhat slow. You guys have questions. Once again, send your questions in, email me. The only way you can get hold of me is chris@wizardscatch.com. And I will be glad to answer those questions online if it's appropriate. We do have restrictions today, right? So whatever. Anyway, so let's come back to, I think that we live in a logical world. Everything has patterns, it has structure, it all flows together in a certain sort of way. There are right ways and wrong ways, and then there are some iffy ways, and then there's some amazing ways. And there's some ways that didn't seem like anybody had it before, and now it works. And so what we know about this logical world is highly structured, and yet it either is flexible enough to make some changes, or if not that, then at least it has things that we haven't seen before, and now they're showing up. One thing or another, we don't really know, right? The biggest thing that we can say is that we don't really know, but at least we have a footprint to kind of base on. Well, I don't know this, but I know this. So it's like, if I don't have a point A, I can't measure how far to point B, right? I mean, I need to have a reference point. I need to start to build something, right? It's the old building code where find me a square and I can build a building, right? Get me an angle, get me a level, right? Okay, that's how the logical work. If I look into what I call a different world, I'm thinking two systems, right? I call them a parallax. So in the other system, which we also live in, this little package, our logic world sits in that. It's a product of that. My story, I realized, maybe not totally unique story because other people have echoed that idea in the past, but nonetheless, that's where I'm sitting from. So when me sitting in a logical world looks into that world of phenomena, it's just all craziness, right? It just all doesn't make any sense, right? So there's no way to put it into language. Matter of fact, language is a product of our logical world. It doesn't even work over there. Boy, we've all had some experiences. I take in and kind of whittle those experiences down to what influences me and what I can influence. And that's what I play with, right? So there was a time when we called those experiences ghosts, and we call them space aliens, and now we're calling them peak experiences, whatever, right? You get it. It are things that occur that don't make sense. And so they just simply write them off. It's like automatic reemission or something. I don't know. They put a term on it. They put a label on it so they can discount it, right? Because it don't fit in our logical world. When I look into there, to get anything out of that, I have to imagine. It's a world of imagination. So forget logic. I look into the window and I imagine things. When I look into the window and I say my imagination comes on, and I'm saying I would like to see what influences, because that's my theme. What I can influence, what influences me. So I look in there and I start to say, well, the first thing I see is this whole thing is very powerful as a dynamic piece. It's a potential state of balance. This is not new, right? Heidegger said, why do we have something instead of nothing, right? So out of that creation is all potential imbalance, means that if anything got created, it would be out of balance. And then it would, like the wash machine out of balance, would start to wobble, maybe self-destruct. So balance is essential to it. I start to look in there and I say, oh, wow, I can look in there and it says, oh, the world that I live in is a little bit out of balance. But it does that regularly. We have a long history of it, but you haven't been on the planet very long, that's fine. But it has a long history of it, right? So I look at that and I said, wow, I can imagine balance, but when I put that forth, I don't feel an influence coming to me. That's how I work. It's like, wow, it's not saying, yeah, sure, let's do that. It's like, nothing shows up. Nothing shows up. It's not, bells and whistles don't come in, enlightened ideas don't come in. Come on, there's no, so I look at that and I feel hollow. I feel like I just want to lay down and sleep. I just like, there's this almost a hopelessness when I look at that balance. I'm going, okay, balance is not it right now. There's something else going on. So I look down a little farther and I start to see relationships. The idea of making all possible into a game. This is a game, right? With structure and rules, like Monopoly. You move, you roll dice, you rule. It has a structure. So it's a game. It's game theory. It's part of the game. So when we look at somebody over there made a game, made rules. We could probably amend rules. We have tried to. We have amended some. We've tweaked some. We've come up with stuff. We've done all kinds of interesting things. So it's a game that's expanding. And that expanding game is what we call evolution. The rules have changed, and now the game's a little different. May even have the same name, but may still be Monopoly, but now the characters are different, the play's different, and they've added a few more streets or something. Who knows, right? So so we'd say more complexity, but the board's the same size, and we still got the same amount of players. So it's complex just because it has more pieces, right? So that's an evolutionary change. Well, I start to look into relationships, and I say, well, relationships that affects that most certainly. But when I look at that, I said, wow, relationships is a way that we could then have a demonstration of all possible without having a bias. That's divided by 11 billion bits. And then every bit is a stream of a potential. So that was the original idea that played on other people put forth. And it's kind of like, okay, I get it. That way we have a demonstration. We have a game to play, right? It's just like you have a game and you need 10 people to play, then you get 10 people and now you can play the game. Well, we needed X amount of people. As the game got more pieces in it, we then could handle more people into the game, right? More logical elements, right? Come on, the atomic table is just a fabrication. Some of the stuff on the atomic table of elements we can't even find on Earth, but we're looking at a pattern. We're just reading out patterns. So it's intriguing, right? What we think of that is like, we figured it all out. No, science is just the rules we discovered so far. But we know that they're not the end all, right? So we keep looking and we find more. We keep looking, we find more. Maybe we keep looking and more gets created, right? That's what we don't know. So I'm looking at relationships and I say relationships are essential, but right now what I see is tremendous polarization. People are struggling to stay in their thread and they're just defending and they're all confused and there's no cohesion, no getting together. So I said, okay, I feel that, and how does that influence me? I get that same sour feeling. It's like, wow, okay. I'm usually extremely obnoxious and irreverent. And now I'm living in a time where it is not appropriate to be obnoxious and irreverent. So if I offend you, it's just because it's a force of habit and not personal, okay? So why I don't teach anymore and retired is that I became outdated. So I understand looking at this thing, it's like, okay, things are changing. I don't know if it's better or worse, but that doesn't make any difference, right? I can't voice a judgment because it's all about generating a balanced system that supports all these different threads that act in relationship. If I don't know something, I ask you. If you don't know something, you ask me. We all talk about it. It doesn't mean either one of us really knows. But if the two of us put our heads together, we now have a bigger piece of it, right? If we get enough people together, we've got something that we can like anchor into for a little bit of time. Anyway, until more pieces come in, right? That makes sense. So the last one over there in my model that I'm looking into, was something that had to do with ranges. To have all potential, you have to have a range that would include everything. But look at us humans. We're not designed that way. We have two eyes up here, ears over here. We have a limited range, and we have even more limited consciousness. We can only attend to so much at a time. We can attend a little bite here, a little bite there, a little bite there, but not all into the big picture. We have to then sit down and kind of move them around in our head and line them up and actually get back into that imagination and imagine how these would play out. We put together a diagram like the Tibetans with their sand pictures, right? If you look at their sand pictures, they're not pictures of trees and goats and mountaintops. They're architectural designs like buildings and rooms. They're a layout or a pattern. So we're just making a layout or a pattern, and we're imagining up there so we can build a relationship with all those pieces and stay in the game. We want to know where that takes us. We want to know what next step is. We're all kind of playing this, right? So relationships, when I start to range, when I start to look at that, I said, wow, I can get range because more pieces. As a matter of fact, evolutionary change, I do believe, comes from range. What they do is you had a range that you're conscious of that has 10 pieces in it. And now those little rascals have made that into 20 pieces. It's still the same size. It's just now each piece has been cut in half. Now you got 20. Well, now when you play this, you have extra pieces you don't know what to do with. You now have to change the rules a little bit to integrate those pieces or to throw some out. But if you throw some out, you affect balance. So this is an interesting game, right? This is why we're playing, right? So when I start to look at that, I said, wow, okay, I can work with range because range is changing right now. Range is changing. It's been doing it for the last 100 or so years. It's now getting kind of at a point, I can't say it's the epic center, and it's going to start to pivot and turn. Maybe that's a story that's out there. People wrote it up. I don't know, right? Don't know until I get to the other side of it. And for the truth is, at my age, I probably won't know by getting to the other side of it. So that's just the way life goes, right? It's not a game where we play into it to win anything. It's a game that we engage in, but we don't just win anything. We all die, right? So you look at that and you say, you have a little window to play the game. And if you don't play the game, that's fine. If you do play the game, that's fine, because either way, you check out, you punch your card, and the game's all over for you. Do you come back? Who cares? I mean, if I come back and play the silly game again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know if I'd want to do it again, right? I don't know what's in it to do it again. I've been in this thing for quite a while, and I'm still not too sure what's in it. So it's just interesting. It's kind of fun. And right now, there's not a whole lot else to do, as you all probably know. So it's like, okay, here we are. So we're looking at range. What we can do is, because we can't get bigger in range, because the way we're configured, right? We can't entertain more. 7 plus or minus 2. When George A. Miller wrote that paper, I think we probably had 7 bits we could kind of play with. But then a squirrel can, they can put a squirrel in front of a computer and it could hit the buttons and count up whatever. And if it would count the dots that's on the screen, 4, 5, 6 dots, and punch the right number at the bottom, it would get fed. So squirrels are smart enough to count to 7. We have at least conscious of 7. So we got at least a squirrel brain. We can then entertain those 7 things at once, but we have to do some juggling. We have to move our attention. We have to abandon something and move into something else, right? To be able to make those changes all the time. So that means that we have different ranges. Sometimes a new range is a total different state of you. And sometimes you have 4 or 5 ranges in a state of you. A state of you is how you show up. So right now, I know I'm showing up on your computer screen, but nonetheless, you want to go have coffee sometime, give me a call. Well, no, you can't. Email me if you're close. We'll go have a cup of coffee. We can talk to things. We can chit chat a little bit. There's a lot of interchange that can occur. So that's the game moving. This thing's always in motion, but it doesn't look like it. So to keep this in motion and in balance, you have to move the whole thing, right? So the first range is like, how do I get range of motion? really most important when we look at influences. If I don't have range of motion, probably not going to be able to move to other ranges, right? And I can't get more into this range. It just goes tilt. And I just get, I've seen people go tilt. They just get ballistic. They get sick. They don't do very well. They just sit there and stare at the wall. We've all had those experiences. Sometimes they get hysterical. And you got to shake them or slap them or whatever to get them to like, whoa, wake up, come back, get back in your range here. This is what we're doing. And then sometimes you can get into meditations and you can get in all kinds of ranges that don't make any sense at all. And you go, wow, what's that all about? And we can make up all kinds of stories about it, but I don't know. I've seen a lot of different stuff and I made up stories about it during my life and actually probably taught some of them. And I don't see any that come to fruition, but other things I saw and I didn't think was very interesting, I see it come to fruition. So it's, it's why I'm not an investment counselor and I'm a teacher. So if I was really good at picking those right ones, I'd be an investment counselor and a millionaire. And why would I talk to you guys? I'm talking to you guys because I'm trying to learn things. I'm looking at influence and being influenced. I want to exchange. So we're going to start out with ranges. I say in January, start out by noticing when you switch attention. I'm sitting here talking to you and I have a cup of coffee because I talk so much. I'm pushing out all kinds of moisture. So I'm putting in some moisture. And because I live up here, it's 40 degrees outside my window. And I'm in a garage, so it's 40 degrees. It's probably 45 in here. So you start to see it's like drinking something warm, probably, eludes the idea in my body that things are going to get warmer. And they probably will come July or August, right? That little bit of time. Just like we got chaos right now, but are things going to get better? Yeah, a couple hundred years maybe. So in the meantime, we get to dance this craziness and see if we can keep from getting run over by a truck. So that's the game. So to do that, we need to have more ranges, right? Lots more ranges, right? So the best thing to do, because this piece likes to conserve. A matter of fact, atomic structure likes to conserve. So the law of conservation is a law of energy. It has been around for a long time. We understand it if you take some physics classes, right? So this wants to conserve. So when I start to look at that, it wants to kind of package things up on one little package. So it doesn't have to do too much, but there's not enough information in there. So it makes little shortcuts. It attaches threads. It hooks onto this. It uses this as a resource. It's like, just like you make things you use, a calendar or something really close so you can grab it, right? Things you don't use for a long time, you bury somewhere in a drawer, and then every couple of years you spend hours looking for where you buried it. That's just the nature of being human. So ranges kind of do the same thing. So if we try to improve a range we got, we're really fighting a system that's been in play for a while. Really tough changing habits because they're unconscious. So what we have to do is we have to start building brand new ranges. That's what we got to do. So to start doing that, we'll start that in February. To start doing that in January, I'm advocating that you start to notice when someone got your attention. They go, hey, hi, Chris. I go, oh, I look up and I'm going, my brain is going, who is that? Do I know that person? I'm already kind of starting to say hi back. That's an automatic response that I didn't. Maybe I don't want to say hi to him. What am I doing, Chris? It's like, why are you saying hi to him? Maybe somebody you don't like. Here I am smiling and saying hi, and I don't even know who they are yet. My brain hasn't found that yet. And then all of a sudden I recognize them. Oh, and then this is just normal, right? This is what we do. So we had to switch to a range that we could identify that person, where we have some data on that person, where we have a joint relationship, where we sit, and then we could have a conversation for a few minutes. And then they leave, and I'm staying there going, I can't remember what I was doing before they came into my attention. So I have to kind of look around and find myself, oh, I was checking the mail in the mailbox. Oh, yeah, that's right. So then this is normal, right? This is what we do. We jump from ranges to ranges to ranges. The system likes to compile it. It doesn't work, right? Being in the center of the range just means that you can switch back and forth. If you're at one end of the range, it's really difficult. You have seen people that are at one end of a range believe something to be absolutely true, and they hit threshold all the time. Because if it doesn't work with what they are, they just can't even entertain it. It's just like too convoluted. I just can't. I can't deal with this right now. I've got to sit. I've got to go sit down. I've got to go have a drink. I've got to like, oh my gosh, that's a good indication that you're in a polarity place. You can't just wiggle a little bit and move. It's all about movement down a path called a pattern. Getting through life is all about engaging patterns. It's just a game. It's a logical structure. That's it. So we're going to work on ranges all year. See what we can do, right? Notice when you change. You do it all the time. Start to notice. That's the foundation for it. So thank you very much. And been fun chatting. And so I will post this rascal up with a January blog and look forward to maybe hearing some comments from you and see what's going on. So once again, it's Dr. Chris Lemmon at wizardscatch.com. And so thanks.